millions of turnover in last few years. So how you have achieved that goal?
How an ad appears in the search results
I want to ask you, how is life in Google? Because a lot of people admire.
I think, it differs by office. There's certain principles across Google where, there's always the snacks and the access to food. And like you said, there's like rest pods, massage rooms, different places.
Big ideas, real dollar. Hello guys, my name is Arham and I welcome all of you with another exciting episode of the business narrative. And with your ideas, you can earn millions of dollars. Katie Wilson will tell us how. Thank you so much, Katie, for your precious time.
Great to be here.
Katie, everybody wants a secure job. People dream to be in Google, right? When I was going through your profile, I've seen that you have worked in Google in every field. You have done marketing, you were head of sales and stuff like that. But in 2017 or 2016, you came up with an idea that you should leave this job and you have to be an entrepreneur. Like, why? Why? Google is the biggest firm.
I know it sounds crazy. A lot of people love to work at Google, and I love to work at Google too. I was there for 15 years. Largely in sales. Like you said, I was a head of sales when I left. I managed and ran sales teams, hired salespeople, was a salesperson myself for many years with a book of business there. And there's tons of opportunities for growth within Google to work on different projects. But for me, I think I came to a point in my career where I really wanted to be more entrepreneurial, in charge of my own time. Right. I think that was a big thing for me, especially after having kids, in charge of where I live versus living in a hub that are also pretty like high cost of living places. And when you have a family, that's something you think about. And really just to see, like, with all the skills I've gained over time at Google and other companies, I knew that was an asset to helping other companies succeed, and that I could come in as a consultant and come in and help on sales strategy and other projects. My husband had been a consultant before, so I knew a little bit of the ropes of starting your LLC and all of that. So it was always something that appealed to me and was like ticking at the back of my brain. And so about 2.5 years ago, I made the leap to do that.
That is very inspiring, having a good partner, understandable partner, and
Yes.
which helps you in your professional and real life. That is the most important thing. So whenever we start something, we face challenges, we face a lot of problems. So how you cope up with all those problems? Because in start, you are the marketing person, you are the CEO, you are the HR manager, you are organizing all these things. So how you have managed to build a good team? Because you previously you were working with Google, you have a lot of people under you, but when you were starting your own company, you were there only you and your hubby. So how you cope up with all those challenges?
Yeah, good question. I think, the good thing about Google is you get very good at operations and scale. So, although my title was in sales, I was really operational manager. I was working with marketing. I was working closely with HR. I saw how all these functions worked and understood, what it takes to run a large business. I also worked with a lot of startup brands at Google. So I understood what it took to start up a business and to start up marketing and social and all of those things. So for me, the first thing I did was set myself up with some interviews of people I knew who went into consulting and started their own businesses, and might be adjacent to what I did. Maybe they do solely marketing, whereas I did sales, but similar, right? And so I met with some of those women and people I admired. Some of them were ex-clients of mine and friends of mine, people I'd worked with before at Google who had since left. And I really got through kind of those informational interviews to understand, okay, what do I need from a baseline to set this up? Yeah, legally, operationally, finance-wise, what are some of those questions that were nagging at me that I knew, to launch immediately, this is kind of the structure I would need, and some of the beginning tools. I think the thing about being an entrepreneur and a consultant and starting your own thing is you're going to be constantly learning, and you should be constantly learning because you're not going to start it up perfect from scratch. So, I set it up on a very basic level. I had my first client, I was getting paid and excited, but then I had to think about, okay, I need to market myself better. I need to think about my LinkedIn presence. I need to think about a social presence. I need to package up my offerings and think about how I want to put that into market. So all of those things really evolved over time, and I'm still learning. But I think that was the biggest thing in terms of talking to people who have done it before. That's like my number one piece of advice. And then they will refer you to other things. So now I'm in a couple different great networks for consultants, like the Board and the Upside. Both of those were networks recommended to me by other people. And I felt like that strong recommendation. And after researching them, knew that that was something that was going to also help my business.
On the behalf of so many people, I want to ask you, like, it was not a part of discussion, but suddenly this question came in my mind. Like, how is life in Google? Because a lot of people admire, because we see in BTS videos that this is true or not, I don't know, but you can tell that if an employee wants to take a break, they have like generated a separate area where they can rest, they can do chill and whatever they want to do. Like, can you summarize and can you answer it very shortly? So what sort of life is there? Like, it feels very like enjoyable work area. Like
Yeah,
the
it's great. I think, it differs by office. There's certain principles across Google where, there's always the snacks and the access to food. And like you said, there's like rest pods, massage rooms, different places. Not all of it is free, but most of the food and stuff always is. There's gyms and stuff. So I do think like the hubs that Google has and the offices are really unique. And they were really the first to pioneer that way of working. I started in 2007, so I was definitely there in Mountain View campus during that peak. They actually filmed the movie The Internship with Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn when I was there. I applied to be an extra, but maybe I was too old to be an intern at that point, so I didn't get it. But I knew some friends that did. So they definitely like that part. That is very a good parody of what it's like to work there. I wouldn't say like everything is accurate, right? They want to make it a little over the top, especially for a movie. But I think, it was great to, especially in your 20s where you're spending a lot of time at work, and you want to hang out with people after work and you want to go to the gym together and do all those things. And then I moved and helped open the LA office, which is in the Spruce Goose headquarters. So that's a different vibe and a different style, right? I think it's almost like a media company with Google there because it's a hub for YouTube. There's actual studios where people are recording and doing live recording. It used to be an airplane hangar. So it's this historic open space. So I loved working in that office and being in the founding team of that office as well. It had a very different vibe than Mountain View, but still an awesome place to work. Very inspiring every day to walk around that historic space. So I think Google does an excellent job of maintaining their offices and also like adding new things that are interesting. Like for Spruce Goose, we had a lot of really cutting edge areas where we could bring clients and have like really interactive client presentations. Because it was also a YouTube hub, sometimes we'd have artists come by and play sets and music for us. So it was great. And I think Google does a great job of blending that fun with work. And I think that will always be a part of their brand and their ethos as a company, which is great. And I think it helps people, it's a lot easier to come to work every day when you don't have to think about packing your lunch and what to bring or when do I need to leave to go to the gym. Like if you could incorporate that into your day to day, it makes it more enjoyable experience, especially now when people are coming back to work from being remote and there's like this resistance to go in office. I think that was one of the motivating things at Google, even during COVID, when they first let people back. I raised my hand and said, "Oh yeah, I'm happy to come back. It's better than working at my kitchen table." I was excited to go back in the office for sure.
like you have seen Google grow, and now at the peak you have seen that. So you are one of the pioneer members. So thank you so much for that experience. Now we have to come back on the track. I was going through your profile. I came to know that you have almost interviewed 400 plus
Yes.
candidates. That's true. So with that, when you are interviewing someone, how you see what is the parameters that this particular person can fit in my organization, uh, like creativity, analytical analysis, and analytical thinking. These are two separate questions, but I'm linking these questions because both things matters the most. So, firstly, what is the criteria you see in a person in an interview? Because you can't judge a person because you don't know him.
Yeah.
Secondly, do you see take some sort of test or something like that? Like, what is your take on it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's true. I interviewed over 400 people in my time at Google, both from direct new hires that were coming from college to very entry level sales role or customer support role, all the way to managers and senior folks within the sales organization. Also at Google, we're often cross functional interviewers, which means I would partner with folks in HR or marketing or even the product team to be their like cross functional interviewer coming in and interviewing someone not in my department. So that was a great experience as well. Google is very structured in how they do interviews, and I think that really pays off for them as a company. Obviously, we have a high volume of people applying all the time. I would work with my HR partners. They do a lot of that initial screening. So if you're applying to a big tech company like Google, you're not, it's going to take a while for you to talk to me or a hiring manager, right? They're going to look at your resume. So making sure that's up to date and specific to the role and calling out specific bullet points and specific areas of achievement. Right? That's important to get on the radar of folks in HR. Great if you know someone internally and they can recommend you, they can put you through the internal portal. That helps you get seen as well. So that's a great tip. Using your network on LinkedIn and other places to find those people. Then once you get past that initial screening and you're meeting with someone on the team, like myself or a colleague, we're often assigned different focus areas. So at Google, we're looking on, a variety of things, but your cognitive ability, like you said, your analytical skills, how you would approach the role, general knowledge about the product. So for me, you don't have to know the ins and outs of AdWords if you're a new hire, right? I would expect you to be able to describe digital advertising, and a question I always liked would be describe how an ad appears in the search results to my mom or my grandma, right? Can you explain very simply how this works and why it's important? As you get more senior, I would definitely expect more advanced questions around digital advertising, and I might ask about like trends we're seeing in the market, whether it be AI and other things, and see how you respond to that. So that all fits in that general cognitive knowledge bucket. Then there's like role specific knowledge. That's where we get into, more sales criteria. Like I might have you mock pitch to me. I might give you a scenario of like, hey, you're a direct consumer brand in Los Angeles. You're looking to try YouTube for the first time. What are some things you would ask this client, or what are some things that you would want to know in that initial call, or what are some advantages Google has over Meta or Snapchat, right? Now we're getting into role related, showing that you know it. The third bucket that we think of at Google, and I think other companies can use this as well. Google calls it Googliness, but it's really like the culture, but also those kind of, like you said, more of those creative aspect or more of those less analytical things. I want to know if you're a good team member. Like, can you work with other people well? Are you passionate about something outside your job? Have you like maybe ran a marathon and you had to train for that? That's super interesting. Do you volunteer? Are you passionate about music, or is there something outside of like your world that you're bringing with you? A lot of those things actually inform our jobs and how we work, right? But those are the things I kind of want to get to know about person in that Googliness section. And it's not so much like there's one definition of that either. I just want to know kind of like you're multidimensional as a person, and a little bit more about your personality and how you could fit in our team and what you will add to the team. Because when I'm hiring, I'm always looking for like a culture ad, and a role knowledge ad. So always when I was hiring, I wanted at least like half we want to have spots for internal people that want to transfer, great. But I always would want at least 50% of those people to be external hires new to Google, because I want to bring someone in who came from, the entertainment industry, who came from hospitality, who came from another tech company, because they're going to bring in different knowledge and different sales skills. You can't always we have great people at Google, don't get me wrong, but it needs to be a balance for your company to grow and for your sales team to be successful. So that was one of the biggest hiring philosophies I learned at Google, and I really stuck to, was like having this mix of internal and external talent.
That is really great. Like you were giving chances to everybody, like everybody from any field, they can add value. And on the other side, I think the most important thing is, as a new person, you should have courage to learn new things as from your seniors, right? So now I have a surprise rapid fire round for you, which was not about our discussion, but I came to know that you are a very good singer as well. So I will ask you to sing a few lines for us, but you have to answer the questions very quickly. Last song you downloaded.
Oh, it was an album. I usually download albums. So it was the new FKA Twigs album I downloaded on before I went on vacation last week.
Okay, scale 1 to 10, how much good driver you are?
Oh, I'd say a 7. If anything, I'm a little too cautious, too slow.
Okay, favorite junk food?
Oh, favorite junk food would have to be like chips and dip. I love salsa, guacamole, hummus. Like I love just to have chips and dip. That's my favorite junk foods.
Last time you lied about anything?
Oh, probably to my kids. Like I think sometimes with kids we have a lot of white lies that we're like, "Oh, we can't do that. That place is closed." Or like, "We can't go here today because of this." Or, "We got to do homework now because we're not going to have time to do this." So, maybe some white lies to my children to motivate them to stay on task.
Are you politically correct every time or not?
Oh, no. I mean, I don't think anyone is. I think, especially in America right now, political tensions are pretty high. So I think, especially at work and other places, folks are very afraid of like saying the wrong thing. And I think just really being honest about, who you are, what you're doing, and how things affect you is important. So yeah, no, not all the time. I think, it depends on the trust I have with the people I'm with and how I communicate with them.
Okay, so lastly, any song you want to sing for us and for our audience?
Oh no. Oh my gosh, talk about
Anyone?
that wasn't in the question list. Okay, let me think. Maybe I'll do a brief I don't know. Do you want like a classical or like a modern thing?
Anything you want to sing
Okay,
for
I'll
us.
do
So I
classical.
think
I'll do this is something I always like would sing in college is like my classical song. So I'll do a little bit of it. Okay. Lasciaci pianga el dura sorte che ti ispira libertad.
like a true opera singer. It
I
was
gotta give you a
really
little operatic, a little difference from what I
yeah. So
always
this
say.
is yeah, this is an end of our rapid fire round, and now we have to come back on the track. We are living in a digital age in 2025 where AIs are now robots. In this digital age, you are a media person, you're working on digital media. How to approach media planning properly? And secondly, how we can make a brand effective with the help of social media? Because a lot of people they spend money on social media without any planning. They don't know what how to approach properly. Secondly, how agencies work. Like I'm very curious to know like how media agencies work and how they can play a vital role in the growth. And I was seeing this. You have millions of turnover in last few years. So how you have achieved that goal?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when you think about agencies, and I'm myself, so I'm not an agency. I'm kind of like just you're paying, you're working with me, you're working directly with me on strategy, but I often partner with agencies for the client. So if I'm maybe going in to audit their digital ads, analytics, et cetera, I'm going to look at their total strategy. I'm going to want to see what the agency set up for them before. I'm going to want to understand a little bit of the plan. And like you said, many clients don't have a plan. So that's number one. Let's have a plan, let's have a schedule, but let's have a plan with wiggle room and testing budget, right? It's very important to have a space where we can test and where we can turn things on and off. Digital marketing, especially in this day and age, is not set it and forget it. So I think that's an incredibly important message to get across to folks. And so when I'm working with the marketing team or, maybe even coming in as a fractional head of marketing to evaluate, that's one of the things I want to set them up for a plan that's going to help them grow, but be sustainable. So let's look at the channels and see what performs best. Is it lower funnel like Google? Is it remarketing? Let's double down on some of those channels because we want that return on investment. But let's leave a little bit of for experimentation. If they're to B2B, let's try LinkedIn. LinkedIn ads work really well. Do you have a white paper or something we can test there, a blog post, message from a founder? If they're B2C, I would say we absolutely have to also be on Meta. Let's think about the Instagram strategy, the visual strategy. Google Shopping is incredibly important for all retail clients. So we need a strategy there. And then I think as we get into like higher level, like, well, let's think YouTube, let's think Snapchat, let's think TikTok, like what's your video strategy? So those are usually the buckets I approach people in when they're just starting out. It's very bottom of the funnel. So Google, maybe some Meta mixed in there, remarketing, right? Let's remarket and close deals that are already out there for folks. And then we start kind of moving up that funnel. But I think people often want to do everything right away. You're a brand new brand and you want to have a TikTok shop and you want to do this and that. And like it's like a house. You got to build the foundation and you have to get some returns on it first to start to scale up to those things. Now, the exception might be there are some brands that are super brand and influencer focused, like beauty, CPG, where it makes sense for them to go right away to TikTok and social. And maybe influencer deals is actually their first level of strategy. Generally, that's the exception to the rule.
You have talked about influencers, right?
Mhm.
We are seeing influencer marketing growing up
Absolutely.
on daily basis. There are a lot of influencers nowadays. What is the real definition of influencer?
User generated content or partner generated content, because really an influencer is a partner. Like you're looking at this person like you would any other partnership, whether it be with a celebrity, with another brand, and you're saying, I want to speak to that person's audience. They have a great audience. Maybe their style and their demo of their audience matches what you're looking for. So it's a partnership deal. You're going in and saying, do you like our product? Will you talk about our product? Here's how much we want to pay you to talk about our product. And here's how long. Here's the formats. Can we cut this into ads? One thing I will recommend to everyone doing influencer deals, put in your contract that influencer deal can be cut down for content for you to advertise and monetize. Because then you can use that as a remarketing ad. You can use it as a YouTube ad. You can use it across Instagram. But a lot of times people aren't thinking of influencer content as advertising, and it can be cut down into great ads. But the influencers will want you to make sure they sign off on that, right? So it's just something to consider. It's new, but it's not new when we think about the fact that partnerships have been around since the beginning of time, right? And we're seeing more exciting partnerships now with influencers. But I just think, it's an important channel. It's not the only channel. I think user generated content is really powerful too. I think about the way I shop. I just went to Sephora, just had their big sale. I'm a huge Sephora person. But when I'm going down and looking at a new product at Sephora, or want to see how something looks on my skin tone, I go down to those real user reviews and see what people say. Oh, I have combination skin. This doesn't work. This dried out my skin, this and that. The color doesn't stay on all day, right? Those are the things I really care about. And those are reviews, right? So real user content is also equally powerful, and having a community of users that are going to upload their own images and their own content is also extremely powerful for brands right now. In some ways, I think even more powerful than influencer, because it's valuating your brand that someone actually likes this product and uses it and is a real person. I think a lot of people can tell when something's a paid ad on Instagram and other places. And there's a time and a place for that for sure. And there's some brilliant content and partnerships that go on there. But when a real person I know is telling me they like something, or when I see a real review of a real person, that resonates a little more for me, at least in decision making. I think for a lot of people.
That was the answer I was expecting from you, because you are the real person who can tell this. Because influencers, uh, no harsh words for everyone. Everybody's making content, but just making videos and just walking around is not a content. Content is whole presentation, right? So,
Yeah.
women leadership. How you see women leadership and women empowerment, and we see that there are a lot of narratives these days are building. Feminism and feminism culture. They talk about equality, right? So, what is the real feminism, and how you see, because you have worked in one of the prestigious organizations in the world, so how you see women empowerment in that organizations, and what is the real definition of feminism? Please teach
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think for most people, I definitely would identify as a feminist and always have been. I think it's about equality of both the genders, right? So women really want an equal seat at the table when it comes to pay, decision making, ability to work, and that also leads to just the freedom to decide, right? I'm actually working part time right now and taking care of my kids part time, but I was working full time. But that's my choice to decide that, right? And then having an equal partner. Like I said, with my husband, we discuss things equally. We share housework equally. One of us might be contributing more financially one year, one of us might be contributing more the next year. And to me, that's true equality, is having a partner and a person that you can talk to about that. But also as a society, making sure we have systems that support that. whether that be childcare, making that affordable for both women and men to go back to work, maternity leave policies, just caregivers in general. Some people are caring for elder family members, right? That's a part of caregiving as well. So I think in the workplace that touches on a lot of different things, whether it be the benefits a company's going to offer. I had both my children at Google. They had fantastic benefits. I was very happy to come back to work, and they made it quite an easy process. Both managers I worked with when I came back from maternity leave were parents themselves and very much understood, the support I needed to come back, and made it really easy for me. So I think that's a really important part of company. Now being out on my own, I connect with a lot of women leaders in a lot of the networks I'm in. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming as a woman going to a networking event that it's a startup and is very bro and like, sometimes I don't always feel like I fit in at startup networking events, or I've been a mentor for startup things and I love doing that. But I do feel a little bit more relaxed and comfortable when I'm at like a women networking event. And it could just be like how anyone feels when you're either at a networking event with people that are in your peer group, maybe they're in your industry versus like a large room where you don't know everybody. So I found that to be really helpful in terms of building a network with other women leaders who kind of understand what I'm going through and can offer advice and mentorship. And that's something I love to give to other like women and be a mentor for, because I think women uniquely have different questions than men when it comes to mentorship. Like a lot of young women come to me and say, like, how can I continue to grow my career and go out on maternity leave? Like, what are your tips around that? I'm coming back from leave and I'm trying to balance X, Y, and Z. Like, can you help me talk through that? I'm starting a new job and I want to negotiate some of the benefits as a parent and as a mother. Like, can you help me talk through that? So I do think there are unique portions of, your career and growth as a woman that is helpful to talk to another woman. That's not to say that a male mentor or a male manager might know those things, but I think a lot of women are going to feel much more comfortable asking those questions to someone else that's gone through it.
I have learned a lot of things. There are a bunch of questions that I want to ask you, but we have a time limit. So, any message to aspiring people, those people who are already doing something but they are not getting the results, they are facing failures. So, what is your golden tip to them?
Yeah, well, I'll do a career one first. I would just say, always be growing your skills, whether it be like AI and new things that are coming out, or new areas within your skill set. So I work in sales. AI is becoming a part of our workflow. I've been up leveling myself on AI workflows and agents and things that can help in the sales discovery process. And I've been working with clients on that. So I think it's always important to grow your skill set. It's interesting for you too, and it gives you an advantage in the market, and things are going to constantly evolve, especially on the tech side. And it's really important to not be stuck in your ways and thinking you're the expert on everything. Realizing like you can be new to something and learn it and help other people learn it too is an important skill as you continue to grow. I think for entrepreneurs out there, it's hard to wear a lot of hats. So I think thinking through your workflows on a daily basis and thinking about your plan in terms of lead generation, in terms of finding.
Hope all the viewers, you will going to love this podcast because I have enjoyed a lot. There are a lot of entrepreneurs I have interviewed, but this one of the best one. If you like the podcast, then hit the subscribe button and share it with your friends. We will be going to meet you in the next podcast. Till then, take care. Bye bye.